Hi, my name is Jacob and welcome to another episode of Raw and Uncut on the Abrasive Conversations platform. Today I want to speak about what I think is the biggest problem that the youth currently is facing in South Africa. I think the biggest problem that the youth currently face in South Africa is youth unemployment. For me, it's outrageous that youth in South Africa are sitting at home during the prime of their lives. South Africa have one of the most highest unemployed rates, and that unemployment rate is even higher when it comes to young people in South Africa. So why are young people sitting at home and do not find any economic opportunities? I think the answer to that question is manifold and it's very complex. So, without watering down a very complex situation or explanation, let me quickly just point you to some of the reasons. I think the first and foremost reason is that our economic system hasn't changed much since 1652. I think that particular economic system that was implemented, that was based on slave labor, that resulted in the expectation that labor always have to be cheap, has been at the center of South Africa's problem. So what cheap labor does is that you employ either as much people as possible or few people as possible and expect them to do a big amount of work. And the expectation is that the company directors, the shareholders, and whoever is in control of the economic activities get the fair share or the biggest shares of the profit. So at that model, if labor is not cheap, then you find cheap labor somewhere else, and cheaper. So, for example, let me give you an example. Securities in South Africa is one of the most, I think, lowest paid working force, or one of the most lowest paid working force in South Africa. And the reason why they can be paid that much and that low is because if you go to any of these security firms, and you will see there's a queue and there's a database, and there is many more people waiting for the next security to exit the system so that they can come in. The same is with domestic workers in South Africa. So many people are waiting in a queue for a domestic worker to either get fired or exit the system so that they can get that particular job. In companies or organizations where the jobs is more complex, they expect employees to do double the work and double the output, but they will not appoint the extra person to help out with the job so that they can extract a vast amount of profit or appropriate that particular wealth that comes from it. So that is one case. The other case is that South Africa is rapidly moving towards a technology-based economy. So what we find is that a lot of technology is introduced, and even machines, that is replacing a lot of the labor that people have done before. So now the big question is, what can you, as a young person, what can you achieve with a matric certificate or even a degree? My answer to that question is that you cannot achieve anything. You're not skilled for the future economy that is coming, or that we already see. So I think many of you who watches my specific channel would be aware that there's something like the fourth industrial revolution. So that specific revolution is also changing in terms of how labor is, or who is going to do the work in the future, and that who is going to be who's doing the work in the future more and more is based on machines. So languages like artificial intelligence, machine learning, all of that is what companies now are using and investing to replace humans to do the job. For example, if you go to a bank, you will see that over the past 5 years that the bank tellers and the cashiers and the skilled labor in the banks have decreased, and that is because of the fourth industrial revolution, where banks are using artificial intelligence, machine learning to do the job that those employees, those people has to do at a much more efficient way than employees used to do. So you have this old economy that is systematically being replaced by a much newer form, and I think a more devastating form, economic form that is going to replace humans. So with that being said, what can we do? What can we do about youth unemployment in South Africa? Because what I'm seeing and I'm observing is the devastating psychological effects that youth unemployment have on young people. It must be in a way, it must rob you from your level of self-worth. If you're a young person in South Africa and you do not get a job, and it's not like they're not looking, they're looking for opportunities. Many are looking for opportunities, but there is just no opportunities for them in society. They're either too young, inexperienced, or they just don't fit the mold of what would make, what people or the economy think what would make a good employee. So the psychological effects is devastating, and that have socioeconomic consequences. So, and I see the socioeconomic consequences all over South Africa. I see a hopelessness amongst young people, and whenever you find yourself in a hopeless situation, you will start looking at other avenues to find a level of self-worth or do something with the energy. Because let's face it, young people in their prime have a lot of energy, and that energy needs to go somewhere. If they do not find healthy or specific outlets, or they where the energy is appreciated, it will be directed to a place which is less ideal, but at least that is where their energy will be appreciated. For example, gangsterism and violence is one of those ways where young people that is hopeless are recruited to literally become runners, drug runners, or have a sense of self-worth that this is the place at least where they are appreciated. So then it leads me to the next kind of point or question is, whose responsibility is it? Whose responsibility is it in South Africa to do something about youth unemployment? Because another reality is if we do not value the youth of this country, then this country doesn't have a future. So we have to do something about youth unemployment. But whose responsibility is it? Every year when it comes to Youth Month, we go into the rhetoric, we talk about the youth of 76, and after that particular month it dies, and nothing happens after that. So whose responsibility is it to do something about youth unemployment in South Africa? I think ideally it's supposed to be the government's responsibility to do something about it, but I don't think this current specific government can do anything about youth unemployment in South Africa. I don't think they have an appetite to deliver any type of service in South Africa. We recently saw, I think this week or last week, that our president literally is lying on money that could have been spent on a youth program, where some young people in the immediate communities where his farm is could have been employed. But he prefer, our president, who is supposed to do something about youth unemployment in South Africa, he prefer to lie on top of his money than rather use that money to help out, to change the lives of young people in South Africa. He rather wants to lie on top of that money. That is such a perversion and fetish, that you stash your money in a mattress, and that's okay. So to me, that's not okay. But what did we expect from a president who has the blood of the miners of Marikana on his hand? When the miners of Marikana wanted more money, but they said they can't feed our families, he was involved in their murder and how tragically it ended for them. So can we expect from this government to do something about youth unemployment in South Africa? I don't think so. So I think we have to do it ourselves. I think it's time for us to start community-based organizations, or we have to start a vibrant civil society that will address the problems that the state will not would not be addressing. So when I mean a vigorous civil society, then I'm saying the same type of programs and civil society that we saw from 76 onwards up until 1990. I think that's the only way to pressurize this government into do something and changing it. I don't think we must ever think that our destiny is in the hands of politicians or even business people in this particular country. Our destiny is in our hands, and we have to take it. We have to do something about it. So this is then a call to action. A call to action during this month to do something. Start a NGO, start a business, start a program where you can help out with the massive problem of youth unemployment in South Africa, because the government is not going to do something about it. Our president is not going to do something about it. Our president is more interested in lying on top of his money, stashing it away in a mattress, in I don't know whatever dodgy way. So that is where his interest is. He long ago forgot how it felt to be poor, young and black in South Africa. So, but that is my segment for this particular month on youth. I will also do my part. I've been doing my part, but I will continue doing my part when it comes to the development of young people in this particular country. So let more people join me, and let's do something about youth unemployment in South Africa. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, bye-bye.